Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the We Know Traitors podcast over here on RHAP. I'm your host, the Duke of Deception, Pooya and Scally, ready to talk about Season 3, Episode 8 of the Traitors Canada, as we got another banishment in on our penultimate week. We'll get into that in just a second. But with me, as always, my lovely co-host to break it all down is Brian Patrick Scally. How you doing?
Pooya, hello. Personally, I am gagged. I am coming away from this episode quite shocked, very sad, and ready to talk about it.
I'm very ready to talk as well, because I do think that the exit of our our banished is very fascinating to me, because I think there's a couple of things you can look at and pinpoint as potentially things that caused this or things that confirm this for some people. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the murdered, obviously. We'll talk about the mission. We'll talk about getting gagged. A lot went down today, but I think the big headline for me out the gate is Scally. Next week is our final week here. They're doing a 2-hour finale, episode 9 and 10, back to back next Tuesday. That is the end of the season.
I was completely blindsided by this. In my head, this was going to go another 2 months. I know that's not realistic, but it just was not on my radar at all. And so it makes sense. I think that not airing the week of Christmas and the holidays in general is probably a good move, but having a 2-hour finale, 9 people going into next week, I just am having a tough time even wrapping my mind around it.
I'm not trying to do the math, right? Because I feel like if I do the math, I'm going to start thinking of what the outcomes are going to be. But I'm also going to end up trying to do the math, I think. We might talk about that a little bit later on here. But yeah, just a heads up, you will, and full spoilers abound. If you've listened this far, click off if you don't want to know the results of tonight's episode. We will be talking to Natalie tomorrow, but we will not be talking to Venus as of yet. There is no scheduled interview there. We're trying to see if we can find another day that's available to make sure that happens. So stay tuned and stay with your ears and eyes peeled for that. But Scally, let's get into this episode as I pull the graphic up for anyone that needs this information out there. It's getting very crowded on that graphic, but this is where we stand. You said 9 people are left. You are not wrong. By the end of tonight's episode, we're left with Dom, Jade, Coco, Sarah Nicole, Kara, Jamal, Chala, Meredith, and Lisette.
Yeah,
And
Jade being Hollywood for anyone who's not looking at the visual.
yes, sorry, Hollywood. Which, by the way, can we talk about the fact that on the show Dom was in confessional and the Laura Chiron read Hollywood Jade, they messed that up. That was in there. Bit of a blooper reel, little Easter egg for anybody who would miss that.
Not a great mistake. Don't love that.
No. But yeah, so Scally, the reason I say there was quite a few things we could look at here for the exit of one Venus Vafa is it seems like the main catalyst to really push everyone to look and think of Venus was Venus reveals at the breakfast in the morning, not breakfast necessarily, but in the morning, that she gave her shield to Dom last night. The cardinal sin of revealing who you've given a shield to.
It's tough. I feel like this got brought up in so many different ways where Venus goes ahead and volunteers the information. You think we played rock, paper, scissors. I ended up with a shield. That was public knowledge. So I went ahead and gave that shield to Dom, who many people also thought already had one earlier and then did have one earlier. So it gets quite complicated. People find a lot of issue in this, saying, if you're a faithful, why would you ever give away your chance at safety? So I understand Venus's logic, but I also understand the questioning of it.
Yeah, I think that well, what's funny to me is that then Jamal is the one that comes to her defense to be like, hey, isn't that actually a genius move? Her partner's safe, she's safe because they're not revealing this to anybody. And she is giving it to someone else to protect another faithful. Why is that not a problem? I also liked Venus's defense of all the men are getting like leaving. So I'm protecting someone who I think could be murdered.
Yeah. And it makes sense. I think that in reality, a lot more of these people are playing self-interested games, keeping around their friends. But when you publicly state, I like Dom, I think it's good for me to keep him around, so I did it, makes sense, but people don't want to hear it, and they're going to, whether they actively don't believe that that is a faithful behavior or feel like they can spin it as not faithful behavior, are going to jump on it.
Well, I think the other thing that really loomed large is the understanding or the vision that being in a showmance equals menacing and bad, because a lot of people put Venus and Dom in this box that they are a showmance, and they really looked at Dom as like the lovesick puppy and Venus is the one doing this to control somebody else's game, therefore Venus being the bad one, therefore Venus being the traitor. And it got to a point where Venus was like, I will never see this man ever again in my life. Is that what you want to hear? I just can't imagine that feels good to be put into no box like that.
Yeah, being in a couple in this game is a horrible, dangerous thing, says the married couple on this show
Wild,
over and over and
wild
over.
hypocrisy.
And I wonder how much of that is Chala and Meredith realizing just how good their position is at this point, and thus not wanting anyone else to have as good of a position. They get to have a secret little duo pair in this game, even if some people have clocked just how close they are. It's
Mhm.
not as easily labelable as a showmance like Venus and Dom are having. And so, yeah, we can have this, but you can't.
Absolutely. I think, and I'm very willing to just jump around this episode. I have no issue with this for the recap, because I think one of the things that was brought up at the roundtable, which was a very good point, was this argument that, hey, Venus, if we're in the final three and you still don't trust me, even if you are faithful and you want to cut me, that's not good, faithful behavior. Which I was like, I almost for a second thought we were about to get a little selfish and talk about how I need to keep people in who will work with me. But then the child found a way to make it be a bad faithful move rather than just a move that wouldn't gel for them. So, but I think that's a very sound argument in that if you are a faithful and I think that you are going to vote me out, even though I am a faithful, I am not incentivized to keep you. Now, usually we'll celebrate that as a fact of like, it's selfish for you. You want to go for the dub, go for it. But this was painted in a way where if you are a traitor, this is like the damning thing of like, that's just bad faithful behavior. Why would I want to keep that?
When Meredith said, I mean, no offense by this, Venus, but do you know how the end of this game plays out? I screamed, I jumped in the air, I ran around my room. I cannot imagine saying, even if I'm thinking it at every constant point, this to even name any of the most questionable players of the past seasons. That's an inside thought, especially someone who's already played a strategic game. I just look, I think it's like not all that rude in reality, but it's just like the social contract of one of these games that I would not say that personally.
I mean, it's always a tough place because you don't want is to then be seen as someone who's punching down or on the offensive heavily. Just because some people can get away with it, some people will get punished for it in this game. And I think just usually best not to go that route, to the point of condescension to a certain degree. But then that kind of did get boomeranged over to Meredith later on in the roundtable, where her super fandom was brought into question that she didn't understand a little mechanic. So it's a tightrope at the end of the day, the game of the traitors.
Yeah, the punching down is actually interesting because I wonder if two things come into play there, with Venus being the former reality star, having played on a game like this before. So Meredith inherently is like not punching down from that perspective. And also Meredith having started the game in a very weak position, being accused very, very often and pretty regularly,
Mhm.
who has now gained quite a bit of footing, but is kind of like free to take a couple more shots and it not look like she's punching down at any point.
To me, punching down, I don't think that is more to me, it's more so when you're at the round table and there's like eight people talking about the same person and you're going in heavier, that's more so. I'm like, y'all are ganging up on her. You know what I mean? Like more so that's the way I see it. But even then, I feel like Venus kind of welcomed this this episode where she has a confessional talking about how, this is the right time for me to get some heat on me and to be able to push that off. Because if I survive tonight, I will be okay. If I survive this, I'm gonna be fine. And honestly, I think so. Because if she survives that tiebreaker and Meredith does leave, and then they murder someone from those Meredith from the Venus votes as well, then they are in a better spot come the next day. Now, would she still be in trouble once they reveal that Meredith's a faithful? Probably, but
Yeah.
that's the hard
My
part.
my thing is, sure, if Meredith goes home here and then Venus can take someone else from that side out, then yeah, Venus would be in a better position next week. But how much of that has to do with her getting sussed here, improving her position moving forward? I don't think this is the best time to be sussed. Like, I don't think that you
Mhm.
want a suspicion on you right before the final, because once Meredith goes home and she's not a traitor, and then all of a sudden, like, okay, we have this loose thread, kind of like we had with Coco, and we've forgotten about that. But how often does that happen? Surely lightning won't strike twice. Like, we're gonna have to figure this out at some point. So I think having your name out there at all is could be worse timing, but is never going to be good.
I think to me, the harsh reality is that Venus's name has been out there for a little bit now. I think the biggest clue to that is Hollywood repeatedly bringing up the idea that there had to have been a mastermind in that turret. The fact that Kevin gets yada yada as a potential mastermind, given the way he exits, really opened the door, and Rhea being the other person they've unveiled, really opened the door to who could be moving like an absolute genius mastermind here. And from their perspective, Venus, who is safe from the Dom POV, who Hollywood feels good about also, who Coco feels good about also, who Sarah Nicole feels good about also. Every detective in the house feeling good about Venus makes her be someone that they should be concerned about. And to me, it meant that this was always going to come. It was just a matter of when and whether or not you can pivot from it. I think that some of the other factors that lead into it also is that a lot of these people that have been kept in, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, where I can pinpoint why this person's still here and being kept in. I think that the reality is there were too many cleared faithfuls still in the game. I think Hollywood, Sarah Nicole, Kara, and Dom are four people that practically are getting no suspicions. Jamal on Kara a little bit, but outside of that, not really. I think those four, and then when you look further in, Kara, Sarah Nicole, Hollywood, Jade being very vocal faithfuls who have some sway, it was never going to be an easy time here for you in the event that they start looking at you. So it's unfortunate that she got painted as the mastermind, because also I would say to Hollywood, that doesn't like you. This is a very because it's a very superficial title to give somebody, because at the end of the day, I don't know if like this turret was set up in a way for that to be like the characteristics of it all, but it worked. So who am I to speak on it?
Yeah. At first, I thought, okay, we're using mastermind as a term for gamer. Like, this is the people that come from
Yeah.
Survivor, Big Brother. Yeah, then I was reminded Kevin was there, and they're just really writing him off as like, but that couldn't fill this role. Like, we still
Right.
need to look at, like, okay, Ty was murdered, Omer was banished, they were both faithfuls. There's still that, like, one more piece that we're looking for. And
Mhm.
I think when evaluating Venus's banishment, how much of it was being the last remaining Survivor Big Brother player, if US Big Brother Survivor player, or no, not even US, just non-celebrity Big Brother player on the board, and how much of it was what she actually did wrong versus just the social politics of the house as well.
Yeah, I think it was such a tough spot to wiggle away from, especially when, again, all the other competitive reality folks are out, to your point that we didn't talk about all that much. And then I think, again, the other part is the fact that Dom and her were such a like scene duo, to the point where people were like, it's kind of sketchy. It's kind of sketchy. And I don't know, I would love to know what I think when it's all said and done, being a duo in the game is dangerous. So splitting, even if you think they're both faithful, if you vote one out because you don't want them to be in the game, I think that's very valid. But I think that on the other hand, Dom just looked so innocent the entire time that no one was batting an eye at Dom being a suspect. If anything, they're like, look at this poor Dom being tricked by Venus. So, which by the way, I think Dom to me was the star of the show tonight. I think Dom is someone who I have felt for at least the first half of the season was not really present and not really playing or not really being shown. And then I do appreciate seeing him kind of willingly vocalize that he's playing this dumb persona up a little bit, and they're eating it up. He is the wounded bird now. So
Yeah, there have been times where, like with the shield, he is trying to come off like, I don't know what I'm doing. But then at the round table, that has like come back to bite him a little bit of like, okay, can we all not respond? Like, can we all not pretend like I don't know what I'm doing? So, double-edged sword. But I think it's tough where they are clearly a little bit of a duo in the game. And I think ultimately that was probably Venus's greatest sin. I'm very curious to see how much of this was like a strategic vote out, frankly, from a couple of people who were very close. Yeah, sure, you could be a traitor, but also you're a duo, and that's threatening to my game. So, as Meredith brings up, what is, the biggest sin in a survivor game? It's being in a showmance. It will put all attention on you. Sure, but that shouldn't really be relevant to the traitors unless you're just playing a numbers game also.
I think the other thing we could look at is Venus's end game blueprint. Venus was trying to get to the end game here with Dom. I think great pick. Great pick. I do not think Dom was ever going to put Venus's name on chalk. So that's great. And Hollywood Jade. I think Hollywood Jade being in the mix there was not a great pick simply because I think Hollywood Jade has proven to vote and follow a lead that he deems to be more accurate than anything else you might be selling. Or at least that's how it came across to me. So I didn't love the Hollywood Jade pick here. I struggled to figure out how you could. I think you would need to separate Dom and Hollywood Jade from each other also. It's hard to do when they both had shields 2 nights in a row. So it is what it is. But I think that might be part of it also for me.
I truly feel like Hollywood Jade has either had a shield or been in the group where it's like we don't know which one of them has had the shield every single week of this game, and that might be like false memory. But every week I'm like, well, Hollywood Jade, very vocal, very influential. Like they should murder him, except that they can't. So I think game well played. That's part of it, I guess. But
Well,
I am very curious, and that's why like it's sad that we are not currently on the schedule to talk to Venus. Like who was in her endgame plans besides these people? Like, who was she close with in the house? Who could she rely on? Because at this point, I am struggling to come up with names of other faithful she could end up far that would not vote her out.
I think Jamal she won over this week. So I think Jamal could have taken that spot. I think to your point, Hollywood Jade has been safe quite a bit. I think what helps Hollywood Jade is that this season, and we can talk about the mission later at length. We've had a lot of who does the cast think is the most trustworthy? Who does the cast think is the most reliable, the most influential? And Hollywood ticks a lot of those boxes. So Hollywood keeps being put in that group, which can be in a risky spot where you're either in jeopardy or you have safety and has been rewarded for it more times than not. I think that is part of it. I think that in the future, you want to like to the traitors, that should be a big neon sign of like the minute one of them isn't safe, just murder them, because if they keep getting nominated for this spot, they could just have safety and carte blanche to say whatever they want and follow whatever leads they want.
Yeah, totally fair.
Yeah. Well, the other person, underreported story of the night, the person we will be speaking to tomorrow for sure, is Natalie, who got poison. I was about to say chaliced, which is not the case. Poison shielded
Her
in the night.
shielded.
Curse,
Yeah.
shield cursed. Yeah.
Yeah. Tragic. I felt so bad for Natalie, and I
felt
think
bad
Coco
for
did
her
too.
and for Coco. Like Coco was right. It's like, is this like someone being thirsty and you give them a poison cup of water? Like it is brutal.
It's so hard. I mean, going to bed every single night on the Traitors as a faithful seems impossibly stressful. You don't know if you're going to lose the game for, some reason, but not a whole lot at certain points, just being murdered, taken out, and without much input or much you can do about it. and you think the only thing you can do is negotiate your way into getting a shield by this random twist that happens, and by doing well, by having a close relationship in the house, all of a sudden that means you in fact are going home for having the thing that you thought was the only reason you could not go home.
Yeah, you kind of get put in a bit of a between a rock and a hard place, because I feel like Natalie's instincts were decent, right? Where when she was like, I don't need this, you don't need to give it to me. I was like, oh my God, if she somehow is able to convince by choosing to decline a shield, she's gonna save herself, that would be a legendary behavior. But then I think Coco also had the right intuition where the train had left the station. If she had not given it to Natalie and like switched up and gave it to someone else, then that could have been an issue potentially. Although I will say, to my knowledge, didn't come up that Natalie got poisoned. Oh my God, poisoned again. Didn't curse shielded, right? That didn't come up. So the way of death, they just assume is a regular murder. So
Yeah, interesting, because I do feel like at other times the host may say, there was a murder in plain sight last night. You know,
yes.
you may say like, okay, that someone was given a shield. Now that would probably narrow out the people that were given shields in that way to some degree, but I think that the reason why Natalie was kind of a good mark here is she's kind of quiet. She's not really probably going to go share this information with a ton of people. Whereas I think
Mhm.
what we were shown as Venus's plan of give it to Jamal, have him pass it to 2 or 3 other people. That's so many people to be involved in this that could potentially like trace this back. So I think that the Natalie plan was just very clean, simple. Only she will know. She will go out of the game with this information, and it can't be traced. Whereas leaving 2 to 3 people on a paper trail is going to be a problem.
Yeah, because I mean, I like the method of give it to this person and then just whatever happens, it happens out of your hands. I do think it's that method also makes more sense if there is a hint from the host the next day of like, so someone was murdered in plain sight. Then it can't really come back to you if it made its hands through. It's kind of like when you have the demolitionist on Goose Goose, where as long as you pass the bomb to like your own teammate or someone that you will never say your name, it can go wherever way and people will accuse somebody else. That's kind of what you want. But I think that the Natalie move worked because Natalie was never going to say anything to anybody, was never going to boast about it. Jamal being a little bit more public, also been like, I'm going to plead, give me the shield now. I think that it would have been very vocal where that shield came from, and that could have been an issue. So
Yeah.
I'm not mad at this choice either here.
Well, if the plan was like, let's say Natalie then gave it to Jamal and then Jamal's gone, Natalie the next day, even if not maliciously, is gonna be like, how the hell did Jamal go home? He had a shield. That's weird. I got that shield from Coco. Like,
Mhm.
I don't care how many times it changes hands. Like, you only got to remember the one person who gave it to you, and it's gonna get traced back. So I think
Yeah.
this was easily the best decision.
It was hidden. I think that that's the big part, right? Is that if anyone had an inkling that Natalie had received this shield, they would have been scratching their heads as to how
Yep.
Natalie got murdered. And then at that point, it's not going to look good for Coco. It falls back on Coco. So that's one thing. The other thing I wanted to bring up here was what were your was the that we had a lot of quadrants that were just safe because there was a shield among them also, where I don't remember exactly who was in the group with. It was Venus, Coco, Chala, and was it
Sarah
Sarah Nicole?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think that would have been a great night to get rid of Sarah Nicole, but you can't do that because there is an assumption that their shields are here. Like those shields are known to be within that group, if I recall.
Yep.
Were they? Or were they hidden?
Yeah, they were known to be within the group. Yeah, I think that they were like, okay, on the side we played, rock paper scissors. Then it got really complicated. And why didn't you actually give it to your partner with Venus? Yada 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 yada.
Hmm.
But yeah, it
Yeah.
was within
Which
that point.
again, unlucky, because I think at that point Sarah Nicole would have been a good pick here. Because between Sarah Nicole and Hollywood Jade, if these two are in the final four and win, I'm willing to say they're some of the best faithfuls we have ever seen play this game and win the game. Just because no suspicion, very vocal, articulate in their plans, have shooters ready to defend them, and then are still there.
It's hard. I'm starting to wonder if this cast was full of people who are just like too faithful as a personality type. I think usually on a season, you have like a couple people who are a little quiet, so they're assumed to be faithful. There are a lot of people who are like very vocal and like actively hunting, so they're assumed to be faithful. This time I'm like looking at the field and I'm like, okay, who that realistically like was murdered could have been assumed to be a faithful or that's left on the or a traitor, and who that's still on the board could have been assumed. And I'm like, maybe Thompson. But like otherwise, like we had a lot of twist where the where the traitors did not get to like directly decide who they were murdering. It was either like a murder in plain sight, so it was just who's around.
Mhm.
It was oh, you know, you have to silently agree on this person who might be recruited, might be there. Like the tie slash Venus twist at the beginning, it was like a lot of very convoluted ways that they got to murder. And I think the traitors have so much power inherently that like fair trade, it balances out a little bit. But I think it also was tough on this cast that is so faithful esque to begin with.
We have a lot of things probably to talk about next week with 2 episodes and a whole finale. So maybe tonight is the night that we talk about the overall feelings we have on the twists this season, because I've liked a lot of the mechanical twists we've added in. I think they've been great. Honestly, this thing they added today where Kara's gagged for the round table, I loved. I would have loved it even better if from the mission on Kara couldn't say anything. That would have been very intriguing to me. But also, I feel like at that point, you're kind of like handcuffing somebody and punishing them for being influential. So maybe just the roundtable is okay. It's kind of, yeah, I did enjoy this, but for me, I think we need to scale back on the mini game murders a little bit. I wasn't mad at them. Some of them were fun, and I think they added a little bit of spice, which I think we need. But I think there was one too many murders in plain sight, because I think what already the shields are going to handcuff the traitors' options on murders, especially when it's a team game and you splitting them into groups and then one group gets a shield. The strategy has been broken out. Don't say anything and you're safe and you're good to go. So I don't love that. I think that we need to scale back on that. Maybe limit it to one a season and make it something new, different. Because how many, and we've had 8 weeks, right? So we had this cursed poisoned one. We had the shovels and the burial one with when they had to shortlist the 4 and they don't really get to decide who goes there necessarily. And there was at least one other in plain sight one that we've had that I do not remember how they did that.
It's just been a lot, honestly.
Yeah.
It has been quite a bit. I don't like to be the person who comes in and questions twists. We brought up tonight's, and I think it's fun in theory. My question of it is it good TV? Is it good TV
Mm.
to silence one of the most vocal people at the round table and take away their voice, in which they're usually like arguing? Jamal can't really go after Kara here. Jamal and Kara arguing could have been quite an interesting problem here and could have maybe influenced Venus. What if it was Coco or Venus who happened to get silenced here and then they just go home because they can't defend
Yikes.
themselves at all?
Dude, that would
Like,
suck.
I question how often this actually plays out to be entertaining. I think it is an interesting game mechanic. It might like influence the game in a way that's interesting. But in terms of making good TV, I think it is more so taking something away than adding something.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. I feel like also maybe a missed mark on not having like a physical like representation of she can't
Yes.
speak. I feel like she was just chilling, right? So I feel like that kind of, and then Lisette being able to just address her directly and they all laugh about it. I feel like it took away from the allure of this, like, oh my God, this is a dangerous spot. I almost think though, in this specific outcome, it helped Venus, because if Jamal was able to hear Kara speak, he was like, nah, it's her. I'm just gonna vote her, and it would have been a 5-4-1 vote. So I think there's a world where that could have happened here. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like again, a lot of the new mechanic twists I like. Another 10,000 was added to the pot today. I enjoyed that. I think that's a good way to
Mhm.
go. Um, but I think we need to let the traitors get some more free murders in, because I think already they started off in a very tough footing with Coco getting detected by or called out by Kevin, that they've already been limited in that. I feel like I would have loved to see a little bit more of a, there's all these other people available for murder. Who would you like to go for? Because I do think that even if my number one target on the board I could have in plain sighted, I might be hesitant because I want to go for the easier, guaranteed no one's going to find out one, regardless.
Yep.
So I'm not going to risk it.
100%. Yeah, I think it's scary, and that is ultimately what it comes down to. In the murder in plain sights, I think you're playing not to lose the game, where the rest of the game you're playing to win, and I
Right.
think that that's more generally going to yield better results.
And I want to give credit to Traitors Canada because they're clearly taking risks and trying to shift around the format to find a balance in a what usually people would call a lopsided game
Yep.
favoring the Traitors. They're trying to find a balance here. So we'll find out and we'll see what some of the remaining missions and twists could be leading to the finale to decide maybe was it shifted too much in the other direction this season. But I also think that your point that a lot of this cast is more faithful driven and faithful coded, I think has also made it tough on this on the Traitors this season. However, I will say we have to go back and we have to once again, I've been almost doing this as a segment for every week now. Coco is one of the best Traitors to have ever done it. The fact that we are on week 8, the fact that we're talking finale next week, and Coco is still there, and Coco is not really being spoken about, I think is absolute cinema. I think Coco has done a great job of taking a lot of suspicion off of her. And dare I say, if she is not the immediate next person out here, I think she's in my top 5, 3. I don't know. I'll do
Yeah.
the math because she's clearly so close to Venus. They've seen her and Venus have many one-on-one conversations also. If they don't put 2 and 2 together, I don't know what to do, Scally. And they've done a good job with all the other Traitors, but I don't know.
There's lots of people who I think would say like, oh, they're just keeping Coco around. They know, but they're gonna just vote her out later. I think that if you're disliked in the house, you're not going to get kept around in this method. So regardless, I think she's playing a really, really good social game. I think that the strategic game has been very solid. If we do get to the finale episode, we get to the first banishment, everyone's like, Coco? Yeah, Coco. Okay, well, then maybe that will make me reevaluate the game. But in general, right now, I'm extremely impressed. I am so happy getting to meet Coco here, watch Coco here. Obviously, I do wish that we got to see a game in which Coco did not necessarily get called out there, but at the same time, would we have had all of the fun and got to see exactly how much Coco can do if that never happened?
Yeah, well, I think also the argument that, oh, Coco's just being kept around to get taken out at the end because it's a known quantity. To that, I would argue that unless you're someone who's been safe every round or you're someone who's been very close friends with her, I don't think you can claim that move because you could just get murdered at any given time. So, as well as that sounds, I think that because who would you argue is the person who we've seen be closest to Coco outside of Venus?
Yeah, that's tough. I don't feel like they've done a real effort to show us who the traitors are personally close to this season in the way that I feel like I could have told you Netta's 3 closest allies last season.
Yes.
So I think that whether it be Venus, Coco, etc. I think Kevin a little bit we got to know like a group that he was working with, but Venus and Coco I don't think we've gotten to see who their closest allies are exactly.
Yeah. See, I thought Coco was close to Shaughnessy early on. I think the thing we saw today that stuck out to me was Chala brings the Venus sus to Coco. So maybe that's a connection we've seen that's a little stronger now. Sarah Nicole could, I think, is another one also. Although Sarah Nicole did at the end of the episode bring up. So do we think one of the ones that changed their votes in this tie vote could be bad? I don't think it's you, by the way. I'm like, oh my God, are they going to look at Lisette? Because, oh, you know what? Scratch all this. Let's talk drama and mess, Scally. We love doing that. When Lisette says to Meredith, "You owe me for this, for me switching my vote," and Meredith's like, "I don't owe you shit." I'm dying. How these two are still here, and what is their end game? Because
How does
surely they can't keep getting away with this.
how does it happen where Lizette says one sentence and they both come away mad? Like, I don't understand it. I feel like from any other duo, this would have just been like, you owe me one, haha, yeah, I do. Like, that's it. And from these two, it's like they punched each other in the face. Like, they do not
Yeah.
like each other. It is very much not copacetic. They're not going to work together. I think that we had seen at points there might be a scenario in which I can see like almost is there a Meredith Chalef Lizette final three where they just keep Lizette around until like, oh, we know that she's just not murdering us because she doesn't want to look suspicious. So we'll get her right at the end. But it is baffling, honestly, that this rivalry is still in the game.
If we get to the final 4-3 and we get a confession where they're like, "Yep, this was all a scheme," and we flash back to them scheming these
Oh my
things,
god.
that would be maybe, step aside Hollywood, J. Sarah Nicole. We found the best traitors, best faithfuls of all time. Like,
Yeah, I think
lock
I
it
would
in.
pass away. Just
Yeah,
out of
I don't
pure
think I can
shock.
handle that. Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm gonna need a heads up if that's gonna happen because my heart could not take it. The brain would blast too hard. I would be absolutely floored.
Yeah. Well, Scally, earlier I said I would like to talk math with you.
Oh.
Don't worry, it's not the type of math that I would be put on one of the tasks for in the first episode of The Traitors. This is the simple math. So we're at final 9 going into episode 9. Someone is more than likely going to get murdered once the blackmail stuff is sorted out.
Yes.
We're going to get down to 8. Then we're going to get down to 7 and go into episode 10 with 7. How many roundtables are we going to squeeze into 1 hour? Like, it's a lot,
Yeah.
no?
I feel like they usually have a congratulations going into the finale. There's no murder. My preference would be oops, you're still up for murder. We'll do the finale tomorrow if you're still here. Kill one of them at 7. We go into 6. Not unheard of. We've definitely had a 6-person finale. I could do that in an
Mhm.
hour. A 7-person roundtable after roundtable. Uh, that is really hard to survive as a traitor. Holy crap!
Yeah.
Good luck to whoever it is.
Yeah. No, I think there's more than I think there's a murder in the next episode, obviously. I think at the end of that episode, there's one more murder, which will bring us down to 6, right? Yes.
Yeah. Could you imagine we started the roundtables at 7 and then the traitor goes home first and we have to watch the final 6 just keep voting each other out over and over? It's like,
I mean,
uh,
that's been what I've advocated for when, we talk about formatting and how, well, the show can't end without traitors, so they're going to want you to recruit more people. I say if the traitors go out by episode 6 even, play out the rest of the game. Maybe at one point do a re-rack if you want and like tempt somebody where in the middle of a mission there's an envelope and it's like, would you like to be a traitor? And you're like, oh, it's a ticket to
ooh,
the
that's
turret,
interesting.
right? Because then they don't necessarily know that there's no traitors in the conclave, but what they do know is I could be a traitor if I want. I can infiltrate, which maybe that's a thing we can fine tune more. But I've always said I want the faithfuls to turn into the people they are disgusted by. I want them to have to do the thing they don't want to do, which is look a faithful in the eye and murder them and take them out of the game because they just don't want to keep them in or don't want them to be at the end or do not trust them. It's a little Squid Game-ish, I will admit, a little like, you know, menacing from me, but I like it. At that point, it's like, okay, you did the hard part, but in order to get rewarded, now you got to do the harder part.
Yeah, that would be actually the idea of like, okay, Kevin gets voted out, and then you don't offer Venus and Coco the option to recruit, but instead put like a hidden traitor's cloak around the manor. Like that is interesting. I don't know, just as like a one-time twist, if that would be
Once.
fun or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? I feel like especially like Canada is willing to take a chance. Like that's interesting.
Well,
I could see that.
mhm.
But I am I agree. I think as a season twist, like if okay, you voted out the 3 traitors, now we're gonna play it out for however many episodes. I could be fine with that. I'm fine with how many social strategy games where it's just people voting. Probably run into the risk of like, why is no one dying every single night? That seems curious, but I think that at the final 7, and it's just 1 hour of them kind of spinning their wheels and or just like going along with an already formed alliance, I think less interesting.
Yeah. Well, so back to the idea of leaving a cloak or an invitation out. I do like that as a one-time twist where then the traitors are like chilling in the conclave and then someone walks in and they're like,
Exactly.
hello. Yeah. Because I mean, it would be a very risky move to do because you are coming into a conclave, you have no idea what the dynamics are. They might just all be like, "No, we're pushing this person out immediately," or someone's like, "Oh my god, my safety. This is what I
Yep.
needed." So that's fun. That's cinema. That's popcorn. Please, please take the idea. Please, if you would like,
It's
try it out.
super
Um,
interesting.
yeah. Now I have changed my tune on the whole like final 7. Let them just vote each other because I did forget about the element of like someone's got to die. Like, what the hell are we doing here? Um, is that a thing where like you get the host to talk to them and like you get like Kareem to sit with everyone down like, so how have you liked your almost like a check-in, and they think it's just a chill interview, right? They're like, oh, I'm good, I wish I was a traitor but I'm not, and it's fine. Because then if someone's really shown interest in being that, maybe for a one time that's the way to clear that, to make that work. But alternatively, the only other thing they could do, because what happens, let's play the scenario, what happens if Coco blackmails Dom. Dom says no. Then, and this will never happen because the next person without a shield that gets blackmailed will probably jump in and join you. But what if everyone's like no? Then the show ends. Um,
Honestly, we have so many people left that I think the producers would welcome someone just saying no and going home.
Yo, what if the math thing goes out the window because we're gonna get 2 people dead because like I will never do this. I mean, you did say it's the most faithful coded cast we've had, so
I would laugh, honestly, at this point. I am just looking for things that we haven't seen before to happen. And I can't think of a time where anyone has chosen to leave the game rather than becoming a traitor. So you know what? I would be compelled. I would be interested to see what would happen.
um, without telling you where, I have seen it happen once.
Wait, do I just not remember it? Okay, I don't know. Don't tell me.
It's possible.
Um,
I don't know.
but
It's not been
that
one of the
is
ones we've covered. I'll tell you that much.
it's so interesting. That is such a funny prospect, and it could be quite a fun time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Intriguing. Yeah.
Imagine the exit interview.
That would be incredible. Like we would be in the Julie Chen spot with the clipboard.
Mhm.
Like, what are you doing? Why would you
Yep.
not go for it?
Yep.
Yeah. Which let's, talk about it then. Because Coco is looking to bring in Dom. Coco also asking the right questions of, well, if Dom says no, we keep going, right? Because he can't die. He's like, yep. All right, cool. What do you think of a Coco Dom turret? I'll tell you this, I'm into it.
I was giggling when Coco was like, "Let's bring a hottie into the conclave." Like, very funny. I am in for this dynamic. I think it's a very fun dynamic. I don't know if I'm looking at this duo and thinking these are the final 2 of this season of the Traitors just yet. I think that they've both played pretty decent games, but I'm a little bit worried about each of their position. I don't hate the move though. I don't really know who the better pick for Coco would have been, and I'm still kind of trying to think about it.
I think unknowingly, a Chala or Meredith pick is bad because that is 2
Yep.
people that are still going to work with each other over you no matter what. I think you could recruit blackmail Lisette to push Lisette out immediately. I think that is a great pick, potentially. Because I'm assuming with the numbers being this low, that after whoever accepts and gets recruited, they're going to murder right after as well. So people do not necessarily know that there's would have been a recruitment here. Um,
I think what if you make Jamal's dreams come true and you recruit Kara? Like, I'm a little worried that she might be too influential, and that's where like Kara and Sarah Nicole both kind of come in for me. Of I think they're interesting recruitment prospects. Of there's a little bit of sus on them one way or another. Kara, I don't think for a lot of actual reason, just from Jamal. And then Sarah Nicole, we hear this week that she has been not once, but multiple times, saying, "Oh, yep, right before the dead left, they told me something, and I can't share it with any of you." So that's gained a little bit of suspicion. Is there any
Yes.
merit to recruiting one of them?
I'm not mad at the Sarah Nicole pick because of the fact that we've seen Hollywood talk about how Sarah Nicole keeps bringing the words of the dead kind of like a medium, but doesn't give her sources up. So that could be a point of contention. Now, how much of that does Coco know would be my question. And I think that I think Sarah Nicole's not a bad pick. I think Sarah
Yeah.
Nicole or Kara, you run the risk of can you flip the numbers on them? Because right now it's looking a little bit tough to do that. I think you could always just go for one of them next if you have another recruitment opportunity next.
My problem is I don't know if Coco can flip the numbers on almost anyone at this point, if I'm being honest. I kind of look at Chala Meredith, Kara, maybe Sarah Nicole as a little bit of a voting block. And I am thinking this is a very scary voting block that, if not broken up, is going to run the end game.
Yes. So one of them is good. Like if okay. So the person that's going to get murdered tonight post blackmail has to be one of those four. If
Yeah.
it's not, I think it's Curtains. I do think it's Curtains. McGee. It's over, for sure. But I think that Coco needs to. I don't think Coco's going to get heat out the gate for the next roundtable. But I think Coco could use a good W, and I think Lisette being the person to then be getting the votes pinned on. First of all, it's going to be easy. Lisette and Meredith already had an argument. If unless it's like fake and put on, which I don't think it is. That is 2 votes against Lisette immediately if they want them, and Meredith and Chala. Coco, another vote. That's 3 votes. You're really looking for one more, and like I think Dom isn't gonna. It's not gonna take a lot to convince Dom of that potentially. So between you're looking for what Dom, Sarah, Nicole, like there's really 1 or 2 votes there you need, and you got yourself something going. Because I think alternatively, where are they going to look next? I think that is my bigger question. Jamal's probably going to go back to the Kara ship, right, and look that way. Hollywood might be looking at Sarah Nicole, but I think in the midst of all this, I don't think Kara's looking at Sarah Nicole, so that might not fly. Meredith and Chala might not go that way. So I think you need a common exit and then plant the rest of the stuff later. And if you can get Lisette to be the middle banishment to then get 2 murders out of that group of 4, you're in a decent spot as well.
I would kind of look at Jamal as a potential next banishment, in that I look at the board and I kind of feel like he's one of the least connected people, at least in terms of the edit that we've been getting.
Been
Could
on an
not,
island recently.
you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I would worry about that, except that I kind of look at the Venus and Dom reasoning for this week and wonder, could this voting block want to separate Dom and Hollywood Jade, who have now also been shown to have a pretty good relationship? Dom saying that he's going to come in and like hug his baby and then hugs Hollywood. I a little bit worry about the public duo of Dom and Hollywood Jade. Could one of them suffer the same fate that Venus did?
I think so. I think you're in with Dom. It looks like people are going to start looking at you as a suspect, maybe, because I still don't see. I think Dom also looked very authentic in his hoodwinkedness, so I don't think they're going to think he put that on. I think if anything, they're going to be like, Hollywood has been a mastermind, also. Who brought up the Venus thing? Hollywood. I could see that happening. That's also
Yeah,
possible.
was it traitor on traitor with Hollywood going after Venus? Like
Oh my
we don't
God.
know.
That is a great point. Who would they look at as? I mean, they would look at Meredith then. If you're looking traitor on traitor here, you look at Meredith as the one. But again, I think Meredith has somewhat also done a good job of not being seen as you know bad as of yet.
I think
So,
Meredith has one of the best recoveries in the Traitors that I can think of. Like a really, really tough spot at the early game, where
mhm,
to be honest, thought Meredith was probably a 3 to 4 week player at the most.
mhm.
And now I am seeing so many scenarios where Meredith wins this game. So, uh,
Yeah,
great recovery by Meredith.
I will say, despite losing our, like, I would say our 3 people that we came into the season rooting for and knowing, well, like beyond just the shows, I can see a lot of outcomes here that I'd be happy with as an end game. So let me paint those out for this
Ooh,
squad here.
name
Um,
names.
Coco winning as a traitor, magical stuff. Coco and Dama's traitor duo, not particularly mad at that either. Hollywood Jade, Sarah Nicole being at the Final Fire Truth as faithful and winning, I'm all for that. I think the fairy tale ending of Chala and Meredith, a hidden couple to win, that is also great.
Yes,
I
fairy
think,
tale ending.
yeah, well, you know,
Yes.
specifically within the guise of the season, yes.
Yeah.
I think the other part also is if Lisette is part of that 3 and also wins, that would be so funny to
Be
me. I would
so
be here
funny.
for that. With
The only thing I
all
think
due, yeah,
the only thing I think I don't want is just like 2 non-connected people. Like it's just like, okay, and like Chala and Jamal win together. It's like, what? Like, how did we get here? Like
what are we
that
doing?
is my only confusion. I want to see 2 or 3 people, if the faithful are going to win, who have some sort of a relationship.
Yeah, I think that even with someone like Kara, who I feel like started the season being invisible, I've seen enough movement and enough faithful activity where I'm like, I'm down for a Kara win also. I'm here for that.
Yeah. Well, and it could be
Respectfully,
a
yeah,
duo of like Kara and Jamal winning. That's hilarious. Like that is so funny to me. So it doesn't have to be like, hey, they're best friends, but just they've
right.
interacted
They
in
need to have some
some type of way.
connection there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I feel like I feel like for me, I always look for either detective faithfuls or social faithfuls to take a dub if their faithful wins are happening. I think in the loud and wrong crew for the faithfuls, I would have had to have been entertained by you to be very happy with you being there. So for example, when we had Traitors US season 2, I was one of the people who wished MJ was part of the winning team at the final 3, and it didn't happen. That was fun, but I was like, MJ was loud and wrong, but entertained the hell out of me all season. Like, I want that rewarded. I'm fine with that, you know. It's just if you're loud and wrong and not entertaining me, then I'm like, I do not want you anywhere near
Yeah.
this money.
That's fair. That's definitely fair.
Yeah.
Again, for me, it's coming down to mostly like, what is the story of this? And so, like, as long as there
Mm.
is a story, whether it's, best friends, married couple, like 2 strong faithfuls in like Hollywood, Jade and Sarah Nicole, who like kind of sussed each other and ended up at the end, or people who accused each other, enemies to co-winners. As long as it is not just, I've never seen these 2 people interact, I'll be happy.
Yeah. All right. So I think that's everything that I wanted to bring up, unless there's anything you wanted to add, Scally. I know that the next time on had a bunch of stuff. It looked like there's a power coming into the game. I don't want to speculate on that
Oh
just
boy, I'm scared.
because if it's the seer, I'm gonna be sad. So I'm really hoping it's not that.
Yeah, that's terrifying. I did not watch the preview, so I'm so scared. Can I ask? The only
Yes,
thing I think
please.
we didn't really talk about explicitly is, what did you think of this week's challenge?
The hangman game challenge.
Yeah.
Well, it was designed to make sure one person's gonna get like done
Yes.
in, right? So that's it is what it is. I mean, this was not the exciting part of the TV aspect here is who is going to get gagged, essentially. Every other part, like I was watching 8 people play hangman on television. Like that wasn't really doing much for me.
When people say they just skip every single challenge on the Traitors, I'm like, there are good confessionals that happen here. Like pretty,
Mhm.
frequently. I don't feel comfortable just skipping all of it. You could skip this challenge. Like this, you'd be fine. I don't think there was really anything like, and we picked S because it's the second most common letter of the, like, okay, I don't care. Like this is not interesting.
Yeah, I don't need to hear the meta strategy of the best ways to play hangman. Like I
Nope.
think we're fine. Yeah,
Nope.
I think
Nope.
ultimately we're okay there. So yeah, I still will watch all the missions because to your point, getting to see a good confessional or two, I'm in for. I thought Hollywood was fun in the confessionals here. Dom had a very fun comedic timing with the stuff, but there's only so many times I can hear Dom be like, "No, don't hit me." Like, all right, we can, it's fine.
He had a couple
So
funny lines, actually, I will say.
I'm
Dom's
telling
made
you,
me
Tim,
laugh.
he was the MVP of this episode for me. Like
I
honestly.
agree.
I do love that he also dressed in this like shirt. He was like, I'm ready to get my Romeo on. This is my Romeo moment. She doesn't need saving, but I'm gonna do what I need to do. And then later on, Hollywood was like, you know how Romeo and Juliet ends, right? Like that is not like that is not smart.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Soon after Juliet's death, it doesn't go well. It's not great.
Exactly. Not good. All right. So, Scally, we'll be back next week for one last hurrah here for the recaps, but we still have exits coming in. We'll talk to Natalie tomorrow, pending Venus. Fingers crossed we can find availability there to make that happen. But until then, where can people find you? What other things do you have going on?
Ooh, people can find me over on the Free Agents podcast talking about the challenge and the amazing race, both of which have finales either just aired or are airing this week. So people should go check that out. Otherwise, I'm on social media. At Brian_Scally on Twitter, Brian Scally on Blue Sky, B Scally on Twitch. I don't know. Go look up my Letterboxd. I'll see you there.
And of course, y'all can always find me on all socials at Pooyaism, twitch.tv/Pooya. That's where I am when I'm not podcasting. And right now, I'm talking 90-day weekly, brand new season. 90 Fiance before the 90 days started. And we're about to dip our toes into that. So make sure you check that out. I will be talking with Liana every week, as I do over on the Pooya and Liana Lounge. And I am currently in the process of recording a bunch of the player previews for Traitors USA Season 4. We are about midway through the recordings. They're going to get dropped in the back end of December, all the way until the premiere. So make sure you stay on the lookout for that. If you're not subscribed to this feed, please do yourself the favor of doing so and make sure you are ready for when those drop. Big shout out to everybody who's left us reviews this season, who's left us comments. It's been very fun reading your thoughts and your theories as things go along. We'll see you next week. But until then, take care. Have a good one.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.